Well, can I confirm that the Prime Minister and I have had very constructive conversations yesterday and this morning, and we are leaving the door open to receiving additional support in that regard from the Commonwealth. So I want to stress that the conversations we've had are ongoing and very constructive, and we will have something to say about that moving forward. But I wouldn't assume anything at this stage in terms of New South Wales not receiving support it requests. And I will just say that as soon as we have something to announce in that regard, we will. But I do want to thank the Prime Minister for giving me his time in listening to the New South Wales position. And the four of us, both myself, New South Wales Treasurer Perrottet, the Prime Minister and the Treasurer, had a very constructive discussion yesterday. That's been followed up with discussions with the Prime Minister and myself today, and that will continue throughout the day. But please know that all options are on the table as far as we're concerned, and I have to say as far as the Commonwealth is concerned as well, because what I really appreciate and thank the Commonwealth for acknowledging is that the success of our nation depends on the success of New South Wales. We have borne the burden during COVID. We've kept this virus at bay for 18 months, and we have contributed to Australia doing as well as it has. But moving forward, we also do rely on the Commonwealth and the state working together to get us through this very difficult challenge. And I just want to thank the Prime Minister for acknowledging that and for being open to listening to the case that we put to him.
Premier, your tone with respect has changed quite dramatically in the past 2 days because the reasoning for the extension was that we want to end on the 16th to avoid further lockdown. Is that 16th date now in significant jeopardy?
Oh, look, we're still aiming for that. Don't get me wrong. But we also know that that's dependent on all of us doing the right thing. There's no date that is our aim. And experts have told us it's achievable. If it wasn't achievable, we wouldn't have provided those details to the community. But that's assuming everybody does the right thing, and that's assuming we work together to make sure we stop the spread. And as Dr Chant, myself, the Minister have said, we just need people moving around because they feel like it. Please stop that. Only go shopping when you have to. Don't visit people in homes unless you are the same person providing care or support to that same person. We just need people to stop interacting for this lockdown to work. And I don't just mean in one part of Sydney. I mean these comments for everybody in stay-at-home areas. That's why we're following the health advice in relation to what we define as Greater Sydney, those areas that have been required to stay at home unless they have the 4 reasons. I know it's really, really hard, but our strategy is that we want this to be the one and only lockdown between now and when the majority of our population is vaccinated. And on that point, I want to stress that some weeks ago I said our aim was to have 10 million jabs. That's about 80% of the adult population, but it's only about 62% of the New South Wales population. So I want to be clear that we put that target out there to say we want 10 million jabs so we can get back to normal, but that only represents about 62% of the population. And we've put that down there for a while, but obviously we'll work with National Cabinet in relation to that. But we need to be real. New South Wales does want to open up. New South Wales wants to engage with the rest of the world. New South Wales wants to go back to normal life, but that depends on really getting our population, a substantial proportion of our population vaccinated so that we can make sure that the hospitalisation rate and regrettably, in future times, the mortality rate is not beyond what the community expects. And that is really important to remember. And it's really important, and that's why from day one, we have had a sense of urgency about the vaccination. But I also want to stress that there isn't a single jurisdiction on the planet that's managed to live with this variant without having a significant proportion vaccinated.